automobile, its significance and effects on society.
In the 1920s, automobile registration raised from 8 million to 23 million. In fact, by 1929, there was one car for every 5 Americans. Massive production and high competition drove down prices, making cars more available and more affordable, even for working-class families. People considered cars as a necessity, not a luxury. Automobiles had a tremendous impact on domestic life. The elimination of horses created cleaner streets since there was no waste. Also, women who learned to drive found new independence, which they hadn't achieved before. And also, cars created new private personal spaces for courtship and sex. Driving created an enormous necessity for more roads and more fuel. In 1921, the Federal Highway Act, passed by Congress, provided funds for state roads. In 1923, the Bureau of Public Roads planned a national highway system. The spreading use of automobiles caused an enormous increase in industries such as glass, rubber, and concrete, but especially oil refining. By 1920, the U.S. produced 65% of the world's oil.
1920s, economics and consumerism.
In the 1920s, the economy of the United States changed greatly. Gross national product increased by 40% from 1919 to 1929. Also, wages of the common worker increased, while the cost of living remained relatively stable. In the 1920s, items that had once been considered luxuries became common houseplace items. 2/3 of all Americans had electricity, 1 in 4 had a vacuum cleaner, and 1 in 5 had a toaster oven.
I feel like all I do every day is wash clothes.
Have I got a solution for you? Washing machines!
Take all your dirty clothes that would usually take you all day long to wash. Put them in your washing machine. And then, all you have to do is turn it on and let it spin. And you have the rest of the day to do whatever you feel like. The washing machine became a necessary commodity in American households in the 1920s. It enabled housewives to not have to spend their entire day doing dirty, gross laundry. It let them do things like, well, go out and vote, thanks to the 19th Amendment passed in 1920.
It's so clean! Many of Americans bought these new consumer products on a system of credit. They would take out loans to buy their goods and then supposedly pay them back later. They also began to take an interest in the stock market and would follow the stock market trends and buy stocks.
The rise of suburbs, why and how?
Previous to this time in history, people were restricted to their own cities, yet due to the rise of automobiles during that time period, people were able to leave the cities and live out in the suburbs and then possibly commute to the cities for the necessity for work or their other necessities more easily.
I love living in suburbia. Thanks to the automobile, I could commute to the city for work at ease.
People tended to prefer the cities. It kept them away from pollution, from the loud noises that the city brought. It kept them away from trash and all the crime that took place within the cities at that time.
Hey! I hate city crime. I should move to the suburbs. What's wrong?
The city, the pollution, it's killing me. I should move to the suburbs.
Ah! I hate the trash problems in the cities. I'm moving to the suburbs.
The evolution of family values and views on sexuality.
Hello, today we'll be talking about changing family values in the 1920s, as well as new ideas about sexuality. In the 1920s, life expectancy raised 6 years, from 54 years to 60 years. That was a big change in such a short amount of time. Infant mortality also decreased by 2/3, and birth control became much more widely used, which led to decreasing family sizes. Sexuality went from a taboo topic to a common conversation. Women went from covering up their bodies completely in heavy, ugly dresses to wearing short skirts and tight dresses in the flapper style. Women like Clara Bow, who was called the It Girl, became the epitome of fashion, wearing short dresses and bobbing her hair.
1920s culture, movies, sports, stars, and dance.
Because of the growth of the middle class in the 1920s, more and more people had time and money to spend on leisure activities. Movies became more and more popular in the 1920s. In 1922, 40 million people per week went to see movies. By 1930, over 100 million people went to see movies per week. Movie stars such as Charlie Chaplin and Gloria Swanson became idols to the American people. Their personal lives were discussed in parlors and saloons across the nation. Spectator sports in the 1920s became increasingly popular as radio and newspapers presented sports in a way that was thrilling to the fans. Sports such as football, boxing, and baseball became increasingly popular, and athletes such as Babe Ruth and Jack Dempsey became American sport heroes.
Take me out to the ball game. I got it. Babe Ruth!
Dancing was also a very popular activity. Moves such as the Charleston and the Lindy Hop became very common. Dance halls and dance marathons were also very common during this time.
American fundamentalism and the Scopes trial.
Fundamentalism became an organized movement in the 1920s. However, the ideas that fundamentalism was founded under were developed during the time of Martin Luther and the Reformation. These ideas include the Bible is infallible, that the scriptures made no inaccuracies in writing the Bible, and that it is literally God's words. The movement itself is a reaction to modernism. American fundamental ideas were first established in a series of pamphlets published between the times of 1909 and 1910. The series was known as the Fundamentals. This series established the ideas of fundamentalism, which included the infallibility of the Bible, and also denounced many ideas which included Darwinism and socialism. The next turning point in the fundamentalist movement was the formation of the World's Christian Fundamentals Association. This organization specifically attacked university instituted Bible institutions and attacked theories such as Darwinism. This movement was most popular with rural America because farmers during this time period felt threatened by modern trends. Fundamentalists in the 1920s influenced state legislatures to pass acts which prohibited the teaching of evolution in schools. This occurred in Tennessee.
John Thomas Scope,
An educator at a public school, specifically violated the Tennessee Act, which prohibited schools from teaching evolution, and was arrested. As a result, the Scopes trial occurred, also known as the Monkey Trial. During the trial, William Jennings Bryan, previously Secretary of State, was the prosecutor in the trial and supported the ideas of fundamentalism or creationism, while Clarence Darrow was the defended Scopes and supported Darwinism.
Scopes was found guilty, yet the trial was a modernist victory because the testimony given during the trial showed fundamentalism to be illogical.
St. James in front of me, oldest blues I ever heard.